Hey adventurers, welcome to the crew. I'm Sealor Agenda, and
At
this is my
once.
Let's Play of Pillars of
You
Eternity.
must have seen some amazing sights on your way north.
Sure. Pirate cities floating in the archipelago. The mountain halls of these northern dwarves. Plenty.
I haven't been further south than the Deerwood myself. Maybe I'll come back after I've convinced the Ranganui and see all those things for myself.
I hope you do.
We've just finished exploring Copperlane and the catacombs. We've got like 3 main quests now. And we've moved into Brackenbury. And apparently I found a side way into that house, but I don't have any reason to go into that house right now, so we will leave that alone. The Charred Barrel. Take it this is an inn. Well, let's go talk to these folks first. Guess these just have souls. Yeah. Jelistra, the Palzerker Stobar. You see a dark room. Noise filters in through a nearby doorway. The sounds of battle, scuffling, metal on metal, cries of pain, rise and fall as a fight rages on outside. There's a bellow of rage, and a Zorip runs into the room holding a book tightly against its chest. It looks around frantically, searching for something. It hurries to the far side of the room and opens a book sitting on a makeshift table. It places the book in the box, closes it, and then bends over to push the box under the table. A small stone hits the back of the Zorip's head, knocking it forward a little. The stone bouncing to the ground, rattling a little as it comes to rest on the floor next to the Zorip's foot. It freezes in place, hands still on the box, eyes wide. As the clattering of the stone quiets, silence takes control of the room again. The battle outside has stopped. It spins around to find this woman standing in the doorway, leaning on a savage-looking two-handed sword. That book contains the answers I need, she snarls at it, moving forward. It hisses, rushing to meet her. Seconds later, she's retrieving the stone from the floor, having separated its head from its neck with a practiced flick of the sword. She smiles, kisses the stone, and then places it in a pouch on her belt, patting it fondly. Leaning over, she pulls the box from under the table and opens it, elated with her find. Alright. And Isabel. You see a lush forest, quiet and dark in the early morning light. This woman walks through the trees, a captivated look on her face. She doesn't appear to have a particular destination in mind as she wanders slowly between the enormous trunks, looking up through the branches and occasionally making a low chirping sound. When a responding chirp echoes through the quiet morning, she turns to head in that direction, obviously not concerned with losing her way. A loud metallic snap, followed by a quick yell, cuts through the air, and she looks to it, focusing in the direction from which the sound came. She moves toward it on the verge of running. She seems to realize suddenly that caution is important and freezes, looking down, her foot hovering over the pressure plate on a well-hidden bear trap. She leans back and gingerly places her foot back on the ground next to the trap. She looks around, anger darkening her features. Grabbing a nearby branch, she presses down on the plate and disables the trap. When it snaps shut, she hears another yelp, this time much closer. Scanning the ground for more traps, she carefully makes her way toward the trapped animal. Rounding one of the trees, she spies him. A large wolf, bony with malnourishment, right hind leg held tight in the rusty metal teeth. He looks at her and a low growl starts in the back of his throat. His hackles rise and she pauses briefly to let him catch her scent. She lowers herself to the ground and holds her hands out, palms down in front of her. Aren't you a beautiful boy? She inches toward the wolf. Very nice. Interesting that their seashore has giant Adra cliffs. Alright, let's go into the... What was this? Something... Barrel? Charred barrel? I assume it's a tavern, but it looks a little fancier than your average tavern, maybe? It's still basically a tavern, but it's... Yeah, there's nobles here and things. Cheese. Free cheese. Oh, it's a playhouse. The scripts and props belong to a production of The Most Unfortunate Tale of Favia and Bernat. Okay, so it's like a more like a proper dining hall. It's your deal, Thristwin. The young elf is dressed in gaudy robes that he seems ready to cast off. He picks at a heavily brocaded sleeve and continually adjusts the gold chain around his neck. He looks up at you. Did she send you to run me out of town? You can tell her I'm not going anywhere without that medallion. I told Cyril I wouldn't let her sell it. If that's what you're here about, then save yourself the trouble. He puffs up his chest, but glances at the exit. What are you talking about? He relaxes. If you have to ask, you're obviously not here to shake me down. Cyril's a courtesan over at the Salty Mast in Andra's Gift. We've been working together for over a year now. I find a noble with more money than sense, fill him up with liquor, and send him her way. They have a good time, and Cyril takes her fee, and a little extra. He rubs his fingers together. 100 coppers here, a trinket there. It's a bounty for us, and these lords and ladies never notice anything missing. Well, no harm done, then. Anyway, we always split the bounty, until a week ago. He squeezes his lips into a tight frown. She takes a necklace off some noble. It's an Ongwithan medallion, damn near priceless. That relic is sacred to my clan, but she won't part with it for any sum I could afford. He tugs at the gold chain around his neck, and even if I wanted to, I can't go home without it. Scani's brow furrows in pity. That's a hard thing. What's the deal with the medallion? He picks at the hem of his sleeve. What do you want to know? What makes this so important to you? I grew up in our Glanfath with the Shattering Spear clan. We Glanfathans have protected Ongwithan ruins for thousands of years. It's the one duty the gods ask of us in exchange for the freedom to live as we please. He fidgets with an emerald ring in his pinky. The treasure hunters looted the ruins in our territory, and we left the wilds we'd dwelled in for generations. Most of my clanmates scattered to towns around the Deerwood and probably live on crusts of bread. He looks at his embroidered robes with disgust. Restoring this medallion to the ruins would earn us the gods' forgiveness. The Shattering Spear could go home. This is all rather fascinating. A single medallion to earn the gods' favor and so return home? It rather reminds me of a story I heard somewhere. Tell me about Cyril. She's a courtesan at the Salty Mast over in Andra's Gift. Hey, Promane. She wasn't born to much, but she's done what she has to in order to escape that. He gazes at a string of amber beads around his wrist. She's a good friend. He folds his arms in his trailing, wrinkled sleeves. Without her, I'd probably be living hand-to-mouth like the rest of the Shattering Spear. But this isn't about her or me. It's about the 40 people in my clan and the way of life we've held to for generations. I mean, you seem like you're doing all right, buddy. He clenches his heavily adorned hands. It was this or scrape by in the gutters like the rest of my clan. But I'd give it all for that medallion. I offered to, but it's worth more than anything I've got, and Cyril knows it. Okay, I think I get it. I'll see what I can do. You'll find her at the Salty Mast. The only way anyone sees her these days is by paying, so you'll have to go through Maya. He fidgets with his sleeve. But whatever you do, please don't hurt her. Man, all these people want us to, steal things or threaten people, but then nobody wants anybody hurt. Useless. Each plate and utensils, when polished to a spotless shine. The thin-stemmed goblets ring melodiously at the strike of a fingernail. Yeah, this is a high-class tavern. Not like our usual places. They still just let us walk into the kitchen, though. The oven smells of roast game hen and baking bread. Wow. What if I just go into your basement? What's in the basement? I guess they don't want to murder Hobo, yeah. Oh, there's a bunch of bandits in the basement, guys. Somebody probably should have put up a "Don't come in here" sign or something. The proprietor has collected a respectable variety of bottles from around the world. From tart Adir Reds to sweet summer wines of Rawate. Pale yellow and deep amber whiskies from the Deerwood and the Living Lands rest side by side. Flasks of the infamous soul burn of the Deadfire Archipelago are nestled next to crystal clear Nasataki and Glomfellan spirits. Ooh, vegetables. So what's up with these 4 people who are labeled as bandits? Oh. Alright. Apparently they're not hostile. So, back upstairs we go. I suppose they're probably aware there's bandits in the basement. I don't know. Standing very uncomfortably in these people's personal space. Well, these are just gonna have fancy souls. You see a woman clad in expensive finery. Her eyes flash as she interrogates a trembling wreck on the ground. Reaching into his pocket, her hand curls around an address and she smiles grimly. Moments later, she's in a bedraggled alleyway, her pace quickening. Her braids trail around a corner and she's upon them, or perhaps they're upon her. The action doesn't last as she easily dispenses of man after man, searching their faces, clothes, shouts for something she fails to find. Frustrated, she moves on, but not quickly enough as an Orlan attacks her from behind, the seal upon his finger glittering with malice. The woman's eyes alight upon it as she twists to evade his blow, and her eyes burn bright. Perhaps this was not a wasted trip after all. Very vague backstory, Hannah. Victar. You see a large group of people gathered in the common area of a large inn. This man's standing in the midst of the people, engaged in conversation with someone. He's smiling and talking gregariously, moving from person to person with ease. He's able to extract himself from one conversation and insert himself into another without breaking his stride. He kisses the hand of a well-dressed woman, dipping her, then twirling her back into the arms of her escort. He moves on to another group, slapping someone on the back while laughing at a joke, and then he's off again, sliding between people, hugging someone, shaking hands. He never stops. Finally, he seems to have hit his limit, and he excuses himself from the gathering, much to the dismay of everyone there. He smiles and waves as he leaves, making a little bow with the flourish of the hand as he closes the door. Once he's away from the inn and around a corner, he pulls several objects from a concealed pocket in his jacket. He looks at each one in turn. A necklace, a brooch, a couple of coin pouches, a small jewel. Smiling, he pours the money into his palm and quickly counts it, still aimlessly wandering the streets. He passes a beggar who holds out a bowl to him, pleading for a pittance. The man stops, smiles at the beggar, and drops all the coins into his bowl. Then he walks off, whistling happily. Real Robin Hood type there. Which one is the bartender? You are. Abelhart Scarion. The man is dressed in neat but functional clothes. His sun-wrinkled skin and limber musculature reflect a life spent in the wilderness. Well met. What brings you to the Charred Barrel? This your place? It's my retirement. He thumps the bar. Used to be a warehouse back when Brackenbury saw more ship traffic, but it fell out of use when the area became mostly residential. I inherited it from some great uncle who'd never had any luck pawning it off on my cousins. Now it's the most popular spot in Brackenbury. The nobles come to unwind, and kith from other districts come to mingle. He leans closer. We get a few rough types too, but they behave in here. Besides, their coin's as good as anyone else's. So who are you? I was a cartographer for the Duke for decades. He rubs his neatly stubbled cheek. Crossed the White March half a dozen times and mapped most of the ruins of Thien Bog. He grins, flashing a gold tooth. A good career, but one suited to younger men. When I came back to Defiance Bay for good, Cliver and a few other friends in the Knights helped me get the rights to refurbish this place. There's strong ale, quality entertainment, and a fresh sea breeze. He raises a mug. What more could a man want? Fair enough. What do you sell? He's got dragon eggs, which is a wild sort of thing to have at even a fancy bar, I feel like. But I could use some camping supplies. We learned about Casita casserole. The Casita casserole, or Captain's casserole, originated in seaside taverns within the Deerwood, where chefs attempted to cater to Valian trade interests by adapting foreign recipes. The results ultimately proved far more popular with the locals than visitors from the Republics, and fish casseroles remain a common dish in many Deerwood cities. Fair enough. I could hire adventurers. He has nobles stay and criminals get away, but they only cost 20 copper different. Oh, whoops. Forgot I guess I'll buy. Okay. Who's Ingrud? Not how I meant to talk to them, but... Begging your pardon. Oh, it's you. Do I know them? It's good to see you well. We had a rough few days here, but then we found this place, and they were kind enough to hire us both. Oh, was this the, Is this the woman from Gilded Vale? Maybe it is, yeah. Things have been wonderful. I can't tell you how much we appreciate what you've done. Is that the woman we didn't... Yeah, Nonton. This is the guy we didn't turn in for murder in Gilded Vale. Fair enough. Glad they're making something of themselves. Other than murder. Yeah, this is a much, much richer sort of... Although there are pirates and things in here, like bandits in the basement, too. This map charts routes through the White March. Do I know something about a Merowith? Talk to them in a second. Nobody even cares if I take 250 copper off that shelf. An ixametal water jug fashioned from white clay. Mort du Gist. These are all just going to be people with souls, I think. This ashtray is painted with colorful waves and whirls in the style of Raute. This map of the Deerwood and Arglanfoth appears to predate the discovery of some of the ruins in the east. It's signed by the cartographer, A. Skerion, so the owner. Makes sense. Who are you folks, then? Mort du Gist. You see a group of children shouting, twisted laughter erupting from two small mouths. An eyeless boy, face grown over with strange black tusks, cowers against a log. His small shoulders shake as he whispers to himself, trying to block out the relentless trail of insults. Freak, monster, death head. The boy stays long after the other children leave. You see the same eyeless boy, now a man, many years later. Another group of crowds in, but this time it's an audience. He tells a long joke about a ghost and a privy. By the time he reaches the punchline, the crowd is yelling, starting to sound very much like the first. Oof. Well, good effort, buddy. Colossus. You see a pair of chain gloves sitting on a table between two men. The gloves are inlaid with gold runes and glow with a faint blue aura. This man stands on one side of the table, and across from him, another man dressed in arcane robes. The man retrieves a small pouch and hands it to the wizard, telling him to count it to ensure his entire payment is there. The wizard smiles, giving the man a half bow, and then empties the pouch into his hand. You wanted these gloves protected from thieves and other unsavory characters, he says, dropping the coins piece by piece back into the bag. Put them on, and they'll never leave you. The man slowly slips his hands into the gloves, a look of satisfaction on his face. His smile falters a little once they're on his hands. The gloves flash briefly and then start making a light metallic tinkling noise. He's not going to be able to take them off. The look of satisfaction quickly becomes one of concern, and he grabs the gloves, trying to pull them from his hands. His fingers tug at the openings, but they've shrunk, trapping his hands inside. The metal begins to work his way into his skin, small drops of blood appearing on the surface of the gloves. The man drops to his knees, fighting with them and crying in pain. The gloves constrict until they've completely shrunk around the man's hands, becoming one with the flesh. The man looks in horror at his hands, then up at the wizard, who's finished counting his money and is standing at the door. You certainly won't be losing them now, he says, stepping through the door, slamming it behind him, leaving the man on the floor staring at his hands. Oof, rough break, buddy. Liliana Renault. You see a woman sway, her voice floating gloriously above the court, lilting and sweet. It twists around them, and they smile, enraptured, as she palms their hearts one by one. She begins to dance, but something in her step is offbeat. She pauses, confused, a snatch of some foreign sound in the air. Competing, resisting. It takes her a moment to spot him, a small man with a single brow, chanting under his breath, disrupting her song with his staccato incantation. She intensifies the dance, the swing of her hips wider, her feet a flicker above the square tile ground, the underlying chant in her own song more persuasive. His lips twist intently, vibrating with the effort of countering her charm. And then, a note, crystal clear, bright, tinkling. He begins to smile dazedly as her song continues, and he forgets all about resisting. She's won the day and the court. Okay. So then who's this pirate? The lady. Merowith watches you through kohl-rimmed eyes. She puts her hand on the hilt of her blade, jangling the jewels that hang from her wrist. We don't know each other, stranger. Best we keep it that way. Brings you to the charred barrel. Merowith raises an eyebrow. What's it look like? Good wine and a little peace and quiet. She flips a copper coin with her thumb. And Skerion doesn't ask too many questions. You don't seem like a local. I'm a sailor. She gives you a half smile. And a liberator of certain goods. Merowith casually fingers a large earring. And the nice thing about the snobs here is that they're usually too polite to ask more. Alright, I'll be going. Maybe there'll be a quest or something referring to her later, but apparently not now. I do have a lot of side quests, but let's see. Cyril, Awakenings Expert. We gotta visit the like sanitarium. Yeah. Find a breastplate. I should tell somebody about that plot. Cliffs, no idea where those are. Did we finish that? Oh, we did, yeah. Okay, yeah, we got nothing referring to any Merwith, so. We picked up one quest in the tavern, I think that's all that's here. Fancy tavern, though. Alright. This manor. I guess I know a way to break in, but I feel like we could just go in through the front door. Although, I mean, it's weird to do so, but what am I doing in this manor? Like, why am I allowed in here? I have no, like, quest or anything in here. Well, I guess we just wander around. The labels, all perfectly angled outward, boast an array of fine finishes. However, they're all coated in dust. They got plenty of guards and things. Well, here's a woman who's probably one of the actual eponymous Raymonts. We should probably talk to her, I guess. Yeah, touching anything in here is stealing, so... Oh, found Lord Raymont. Okay. The ledger lists quantities of wheat, copper, and weirwool. A deep crease along the spine suggests that the book never closes. The skins are so bright and red it looks as if someone's taken the time to polish each fruit individually. Sprigs of dried lavender and rosemary infuse the kitchen with a fresh aroma. Okay, well, it's a noble's house. Nothing surprising in it. I guess let's talk to... Oh, this is the daughter, I guess. Okay, let's go talk to Lord Raymont himself and find out why I'm allowed in his house.
Good day, stranger.
Oh! Yes, we had a plot to rob him. Lord Raymont holds a shipping manifest in his well-manicured hands. Despite his expensive clothes, he has the sallow complexion and restless air of a man who devotes all his days and most of his nights to work. If you have business to discuss, make an appointment with my attendant. I don't have time for unexpected visitors. Tell me about yourself. He snaps the pages in his hands. I'm lord of this house and not prone to idle chatter. If you have no business here, I suggest you be off. He doesn't look up from his papers. Okay. Not very polite. However, I don't really see as there's, well, I could break into the house using the window that the thieves knew about, but, like, I'm already in the house through the front door, so... Ah. Yeah, okay. I don't know. I mean, we can either rob the place, or we can just tell him about the... I mean, I haven't really been embarking on a criminal path as such. I think we'll just go back and tell him about it. Maybe he'll give us a reward or something.
Gods keep you.
I've uncovered a plot to rob you. He lowers his papers and looks at you for the first time. Is that so? Let me see that. He scans the parchment with the speed of an expert clerk. He seems hard-working, for a noble at least. When he returns his attention to you, his tone is brisk and businesslike. You've done this house and this city a great service. I'm certain you'll consider this an adequate reward for your labors. The letter was signed A.D. Does that mean anything to you? I suspect it means Abrakendominal, the scion of House Dominal. A look of disgust crosses his face. A pampered, pandered lad, if ever there was one. He's ruthless, I'll give him that much. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the wits to match his appetites. Tell me about House Dominal. They were once an eminent and admired house. Now they're just a den of thieves. Back in the Deerwoods colonial days, the Dominals were respected members of the ducal court, which is why it was so surprising that they remained loyal to Adir during Hadrit's rebellion. When Hadrit and the Deerwood won independence, the Dominals lost their favor, but not their wealth. Rather than return to Adir like other loyalist houses, they dug their heels in here and turned from politics to commerce. He shrugs. In one way of looking at it, they simply partnered with the wrong side. Not that they haven't prospered since in their own way. He rubs his jaw. Lately, they've been seeking to carve out a new niche for themselves, one right between the Crucible Knights and the Dozens, it seems. Oh, there is a third way. That's interesting. Okay, but the Dominals are, like, straight-up criminals, it seems like, whereas the Dozens are just, like, xenophobic. I still feel like the Knights, if we're going with a generally good guy sort of playthrough, which we have been, I still think the Knights are probably the way to go. We gotta talk to them, though. What's so important about this gem? The Heart of White March is a nearly flawless diamond. It's also the patrimony of the dwarves of White March. It was seized by an Adiran lord in the early days of colonization, and the dwarves haven't forgotten it. Now the Knights and the Dozens are both bidding for it to make a peace offering to the dwarves. He shrugs. Whichever party buys it, the dwarves will make useful allies for Defiance Bay, especially these days. So what's your plan? Lord Raymond pinches crisp, sharp creases into the note. Eliminate the competition. Okay, well, he seems rich. Let's, Fine. The corners of his mouth curl into a wry smile. Still, far be it from me to sour a fruitful relationship. Lord Raymond produces another purse. Now, I trust that'll be all. Farewell. Kinda, like, I mean, we already killed everyone who, was involved in this plot, I'm pretty sure, so... The reward is... It's good business to reward somebody who does that, but he didn't actually, I mean, the plot's gone whether he rewards us or not. I guess we could rob him, but it seems like we might be sabotaging an entire peace deal if we steal the jewel at this point, so probably not a good idea. So that's House Dominal, right next door to the Raymonts, incidentally. Ah, that's the Sanitarium. You have to visit there for something. Alright, who are you two? Timothy Whitewater. You see this man kneeling naked before a dais in the center of a large round room. Across the room, opposite from where he kneels, stands a large throne. The throne's back and two of its legs are broken, rendering it unusable and causing it to tilt precariously on its stand. The room is ringed with figures clad in black robes, each chanting quietly, resulting in a low drone that pervades the room. On the dais across the brazier is another robed figure holding a leather-bound book with charred marks on it. He's speaking to the naked man about fealty, dedication, and law. When he finishes, he bids the other to rise and holds the book out to him over the burning coals in the brazier. The naked man nods, and the robed man drops the book into the fire. The naked man drops to one knee, briefly pressing his forehead to the side of the brazier, then stands and thrusts both his hands into the coals at the bottom of the brazier. He retrieves the book, slowly presenting it to the robed figure before him. The man rubs his thumb on the ash that's collected on the cover of the book, and uses it to draw a mark on the naked man's forehead over the burned flesh. The naked man bows his head and whispers, "Was that right, da?" The robed man nods patiently. The naked man looks to the broken throne with childlike eyes. "Did you see that, Mom? Oh, that's real dark. Okay." Rocco Francis Whitebrows. You see a burly man inspecting a dilapidated inn, the Omoa salesman almost dwarfing him as they walk through the once proud establishment. The walls are rife with stains and only whale knows what else smeared on every available surface. Not one thing stands unbroken, and moth-eaten blankets, rotting food, and trash give evidence to a succession of squatters. The man frowns, scrutinizing the space. The Omoa gives him a final offer, flashing two white teeth with each syllable, oversized and threatening. With a sigh and a jingle as he hands over the coin pouch, the man acquires the dump of an inn and begins to plan. Okay. Looks like a little market stand down here, complete with free cheese. There isn't so much as a spot on these oranges. Yeah, this is the noble district, alright, or one of them. Nice fountain, even. You see a woman, darker skin, taut with worry. Moving aft, she scales the rigging and shouts frantically at the crew. The ship isn't turning fast enough. She looks at the captain, gaping soundlessly at the approaching vessel. Her hands blister from the descent as she jumps from rope to rope, screaming at him to take action, take charge, do something. What is she paying him for, if not to defend her ship from pirates? With a squeal, as ladders are thrown across, the ship is boarded. She sprints below decks, taking the steps 3 at a time until she reaches the cargo hold. Scrabbling amongst the containers, she searches until she finds it. A blunderbuss, fully loaded. Someone grabs her from behind. She throws up a knee, whirls around, and shoots. The force sends her spine first into the wall, but her assailant falls to the ground with half a head and without an arm. Dragging herself up the stairs, she reloads and engages the enemy force with her crew. She cocks an eyebrow as pirates drop left and right. Clearly, this was more than they bargained for when they chose her ship. Okay, this is Hadrid House. House Dominal. With the fountain. The marble is cool and perfectly smooth. Droplets of crystal clear water bead the statues. Yeah, all very, very noble. Sanitarium. Yeah, that's a place we've got to go. I don't feel like we have any business in House Dominal. At some point maybe, but they're clearly the criminal element, and I do not plan to join them, so...
Greetings.
Oh, hello, Nidden. A woman stands in the shade of the garden, muttering to herself. She's fixated on the pages of a large and well-worn tome, seemingly oblivious to the blooming flowers and the cool, fragrant breeze. She only looks up when your shadow crosses her page. Do you mind? I'm rather busy. What you so busy with? She snaps her book shut. I'm studying soul attachment. We all know what souls move into people, that souls move into people at birth and out of them at death, but we still have a lot of questions about what makes them stick, so to speak. What do you mean? She brushes a stray lock from her forehead. Souls power bodies and give their tissues life, but only when they're firmly attached. It's separation that leads to a whole spate of soul-related ailments, including the Hollowborn. But if we understood how to reattach souls, we could end Wade One's legacy. Maybe even conquer death. She scratches behind her ear. That's the theory, anyway. Unfortunately, I don't have all the research I need to put it into practice. What do you need? There's a manuscript called the Theorems of Pandgrim. It contains research from Pandgrim's experiments on detached souls. The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rumored to have a copy in the Elder Archives. Pandgrim's works considered to be one of the more, daring animancy texts, not something generally circulated among novices, nor easy to get a hold of. I wonder if we might have a peek at it. The theorems could advance my research by leaps and bounds, but Grimda, the High Archivist, worships whale, which means she has some paradoxical views on sharing and restricting knowledge. And since she's not exactly a proponent of animancy, she tends to restrict the kinds of information that would be useful to me. Well, that's a shame. She sighs. Look at me, spilling my troubles. It's kind of you to listen, but I should really get back to my work. Anything else? Well, what's in these theorems? Pandgrim was an animancer working in the Deerwood. He had some interesting theories about essence and some rather innovative techniques for studying it. He was able to reattach souls to bodies after death, although he wasn't able to prevent his patients from degenerating. He was controversial, to say the least, but many are starting to realize he was merely ahead of his time. What do you mean, degenerating? Then twists her hands together. Well, there seems to be a tiny problem with reattaching souls after death. The bodies will reanimate and may even retain memories and personality, but they develop, hunger for flesh. Living, soul-infused flesh. Without it, they start to devolve, decaying mentally and physically. If the process goes too far, which it eventually does, they become mindless corpses, attacking anything that moves. We haven't figured out a way to avoid that. That is more than an inconvenient side effect. You've reproduced an unnatural curse with little to show for it. Yeah, that does sound a touch like necromancy. Nonsense. Necromancy is magic. This is science. She emphasizes the last word. Well, it doesn't sound too good, actually, doesn't it? Really? So why doesn't Grimda lend you the books? The Hall of Revealed Mysteries is rather protective of its books, especially the rarer ones. And Grimda in particular, she hates animancy, thinks it's dangerous. I don't see how you can run the greatest library in the Deerwood and be so adverse to the spread of knowledge and research, but I've never understood these religious types. Eloth scowls the Animancer. Some knowledge is best kept under lock and key. Tell me about the hall. You'll find it in the Copperlane district, dedicated to the god of secrets and revelations. Most importantly, it houses the largest and most expansive library in the Deerwood. Well, that settles it. We simply must go see it, right? We've already been there, Kana. What are the Elder Archives? The Elder Archives hold the rarest, most arcane, and most powerful texts in the Deerwood. Think of it as the inner sanctum of the Hall of Revealed Mysteries. Needless to say, you need Grimda's permission to enter. That's all I wanted to ask. So what's up with you? An Animancer at the Sanitarium? Okay. Well, I don't know if we should get her these books, to be honest. It seems like it might be a touch on the necromantic side. We'll see what happens. I'm going to go into this random person's house just because it's an option. Actually, Hadrit? Wasn't the Duke... Oh, is this the Duke's house? Well, nobody stopped me from coming in, so... The marble at the base has been warmed smooth by the passage of hundreds of feet. Dunrid agents... This is the Duke's house, isn't it? I think it might be. There's this... I don't know what this is. The map shows the environs surrounding Defiance Bay. Flags mark strategic access points to the city. Yeah, this seems like some sort of major organization, at least. Some of these vintages are even older than Defiance Bay. Dunrid agents, huh? A group of notes speculate about the identity and location of a secret sect in Defiance Bay. Either these notes are written in code or the author's handwriting is atrocious. Agents. Is this like a spy agency? No, there's a bunch of swords back here. Affixed to the walls are leads in a case involving, apparently, a caravan that disappeared en route to New Hayamar. Alright, what's upstairs? Funny how many places just let you wander randomly around in them. Although I don't see anybody to talk to that'll tell me what this place is, but... Lots more agents up here. Pictures of all manner of folk are pinned to this board alongside notes scribbled in an indecipherable shorthand. The notes are scribbled in the cryptic shorthand. Yeah, everything is in code in here, which suggests some kind of intelligence agency or something. Which you would think, you know, somebody would... Okay, I need a key to get in there. Still, you'd think somebody would stop you a little sooner if you're just wandering through an intelligence agency. Not really anything to do here right now, though. So for Brackenbury, that pretty much just leaves House Dominal or the Sanitarium. I don't think we want to work for House Dominal, but maybe it couldn't hurt to walk over and talk to some people there. It's a very sort of neo-Gothic establishment
Had its
they've got.
failures, Balreach among them. But does that warrant attacks on innocent practitioners? Superstitious kith have spilled their share of blood.
That's no comparison. Animancers have the advantage of education, and with that comes authority and responsibility.
I have to say, it's wonderful to have someone to debate with. You'd think they'd be more welcoming of it at the Law College.
Or we could enjoy a glass of wine and a comfortable silence.
Who's Ark of the Gath, though? You see a rocky clearing, overgrown with weeds. A crumbling wall cuts through on one side, and the trees reach toward each other overhead, blocking much of the light that would otherwise illuminate the body lying near the wall. The body belongs to an elf, face down in the dirt. His clothes are torn and ragged. Large bruises seem to cover him, and there's cuts, abrasions, and lacerations everywhere skin is exposed to the air. The elf twitches, a muffled cry escaping his lips, blowing dust around his head. He begins to moan, his hands scrabbling against the ground, fending off something you're unable to see. His breath comes faster and faster until he's almost hyperventilating. With one final sound, a swallowed scream, his eyes fly open. In an instant, he's on his feet, crouching, eyes wildly looking around. His breathing doesn't slow, and every exhalation is a groan. With one last look over his shoulder, the elf runs into the embrace of the crumbling wall's shadow, all but disappearing into the gloom. Looking down at his present condition, he murmurs, "I don't see how someone who so clearly screws his own livestock can be so sensitive about it." I see. He got beaten to hell for telling somebody that he fucked his sheep. Probably had that coming. Hello,
Hail,
Domo.
traveler.
Ah. What if I just full murder hobo my way through everything? Tell me about House Domo. It's an old and respected family. Much of Defiance-based prosperity is due to Dominal business activities. Now, do you have any further business here? Nope. Okay, yeah, the Dominals, unlike what appeared to be some sort of intelligence agency across the street, the Dominals are actually less welcoming of visitors. Alright, in that case, the only place we've really got left to look at in Brackenbury is the sanitarium here. These charming windows are reinforced with iron bars and a double thickness of glass. Thanks for watching, adventurers. New parts will be up every other day, or you can watch live on Twitch. If you did enjoy the video, consider leaving a like or subscribing. Have a nice day, adventurers. This is Sea Lord Janda, signing off.